African countries are on a quest to strengthen their relationships with China. The Forum on China-Africa Cooperation has kicked off in Beijing, with African leaders setting their target on getting billions of dollars of foreign direct investment from China. Well, Dr. Peter Karungu is from the Wits Business School. He joins us to chat more about this. Dr. Karungu, good morning.
Good morning.
And thanks for your time this morning. I mean, we see China investing over $60 billion in Africa over 3 years. Should we be excited, or should we ask what's the catch?
I think the two issues are very important. We should be excited in a way that, one, if you look at it, we are looking at something called geopolitical changes that we are witnessing. What that means is we are seeing, literally, conservatism in the American context of business, and saying America #1. Trade, what we call trade wars, the tariff, inhibition of trade. On the other hand, we are looking at China with a huge middle-class consumers. The Chinese middle-class consumer are almost half the population of South Africa. Meaning, if we were to trade with them at the rate we could on a fair trade, there could be literally a litmus to jack the African economy. That's #1. #2, they're also saying, if we invest in Africa and you look at the package between China and South Africa, they are coming with what we call more or less a full package, from education to mining to green economy. A package that is really encompasses long-term thinking between China and Africa. Well, of course, one will not say I am a cheerleader of Chinese, but I'm also clear that 30 years ago, China did not count in the global economies at all. So we have a history at which we can say, if they can be able to create that massive middle class, that spread of economy, that realization of saying you don't have to be 10% rich, you can be 50% wealthy in terms of affording, then Africa needs to benefit.
Well, I suppose one of those benefits would mean creating jobs for Africans themselves. Do we see that historically China is good, or so far in their dealings with Africa? And we know that they've already, made their mark in some parts of the continent. Would it be for the better of the African people?
I agree with you. There is a huge debate whether they are creating jobs for themselves or for the African. What I have seen as I transfers from Kenya, where they are building a lot of interstate roads, Uganda, you name it. You see that somehow they have an attitude to excessive hard work. They work late, they sleep in what I would call not 5-star, but
very hardcore.
Very hardcore, yeah. The returns are higher, the hard work is high, or the demand is high. Now, what they need to do is to make sure that we are also trained to do the same. Because, look, if you and I have to do some equal job, the expectation should be more or less the same. I think we need to be trained to appreciate hard work. What also we need to do is cultivate a culture of creating technical institutions whereby we run the ethic of the work they are trying to do. We need us to be as comprehensive and as capable as we can ever be. So, but the government of the country, may it be South Africa, may it be Kenya, may it be Tanzania, may it be Mozambique, ought to manage the flow of what we call the labor force they bring into, but not to deny them the rate to which the job should be done. The faster you finish the project, the better. In other words, if you fast track the rate at which the infrastructure is happening, is so fast that you have them to give credit, because the opportunity cost is, if they delay it, the returns will also be delayed.
Well, the work ethic, I hear what you're saying, is something that is admirable, because, I mean, they're steadfast about it and won't finish until the job is done. The quality has been debated. I mean, the quality of Chinese products, the quality of things that have flooded South Africa and Africa as well. Do you see that being a problem, that that might be the trade-off we'd have to settle for, and some might describe them as cheap Chinese imports instead of locally, proudly African, if you get to say that?
I would agree that there is merit to what you said, but there is excessive exaggeration. If you go to United States and you find a product made in Africa, already is assumed to be of poor quality. There has been a long time kind of adherence If it's European, it's higher quality. If it's American, it's a higher quality. If it's Brazil, oh, take with suspicion. If it's from India, oh, another suspicion. We need to be able to understand that branding of product is a historical imperative. And therefore, we need, I'm not saying their quality is ever good, but we need to understand that where do we draw the line, where we are anchoring branding of this European American product at the expense of not giving people a chance to bring a product that could be more or less the same and cheaper. I always tell students when I teach, I say to them, because I want to create wealth, I want to save money, I buy second-hand stuff occasionally. I tell them, listen, had I not told you second-hand, would you have believed it? No. But I paid a quarter of the fraction you paid.
So it's the perception.
It's the
perception having decided before
and how you try to manage it and how you relate what you buy and the savings.
Dr. Kurungi, now the president, that's President Ramaphosa, calling on South African companies to work in partnership, consolidate South African interests on the continent and collaborate with China on products. Do you see South African companies, are they open to this? Are they excited about it, just from what you're hearing out there in the world of business?
I think from what I heard yesterday, we had a big session with the Nedbank top executive, and I had the appetite for African business is higher than it has ever been. Look, 30 years ago, if you look at it, the discussion those days, the mighty of the economy were between the American and their partner. We call it cross-Atlantic. They controlled literally almost 50% of the global economy. Today, far from that, we are seeing geopolitical balances of system whereby the wealth is being distributed. To me, Africa is the next lion about to wake up, and it's almost there. The technology we are seeing adopting, the rate to which our kids have appetite for IT, appetite for education, appetite for not taking anything lightly, appetite for pluralism, democratic institution that can propel them is too high. So we are seeing in 30 years, despite all the teething problem we have, the continent everybody is looking up to with 1 billion people.
And business is excited by China's involvement?
Correct. The mistake South African companies tend to see quite a lot is to, in my view, is to look at Africa as a place to go and tell them how to do and what needs to be done, rather than let's be working as a joint team, as a collaborators, as people who learn from more from the less. Let me give you a good example. Today, if you go to the most rural parts of Africa, may it be Ethiopia, may it be Kenya, may it be Uganda, the rural people in those countries live a better life than the rural people in Eastern Cape. Why? Because there they have a system that caters for agriculture to be literally an income monthly to every member of the society there. Wonderful. And we need to learn from that.
All right, thanks very much for that. Wonderful insights there, Dr. Peter Karungu, just on the latest developments regarding China's investment in Africa. Well,